Instructors offers great pay, health, dental, and vision insurance, paid time off, paid holidays, and so much more. Join the crew today and be a part of Nebraska's oldest paving company dating back to 1908. For a complete list of openings and to apply online, visit constructorslincoln.com.
Hi everyone, Kendall Warnock, A1 Automotive in downtown Lincoln. Spring is here, summer is fast approaching. With weddings, vacations, and weekend getaways on your mind, do not let car issues prevent you from getting where you need to be. Car problems shouldn't be something that you put up with. Let us get you back on the road in comfort and safety. We diagnose all makes and models from Porsches to Hondas, Toyotas, and Chevrolets. We fix a variety of issues with all of them with our talented techs and our experienced staff. A1 Automotive at 11th and L, downtown Lincoln, always honest answers.
Serve Nebraska believes that volunteers are part of what makes Nebraska great. Each year, the Step Forward Awards honors volunteers from across the state who serve their communities in outstanding ways. We hope you'll join us this year at the Step Forward Awards luncheon on October 27th in Omaha. Help us thank volunteers with a celebration to remember. To register, visit serve.nebraska.gov and click Register Now. We hope to see you there. Paid for by Serve Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions.
My early Alzheimer's diagnosis was hard to take.
But it gave my mom and me more time to plan together.
Talk to your family about seeing a doctor. Go to alz.org/time to talk. A message from the Alzheimer's Association and the Ad Council.
Empower a child today with the Teammates Mentoring Program. Hope is only a conversation away when you choose to share your talent, time, and heart with a child. Together, you can build a relationship based on strengths and chart a brighter future, 1 week at a time. Find out how you can be a mentor by visiting LincolnTeammates.org. Become what you needed as a kid by joining the Teammates Mentoring Program today.
I see the future in our public school classrooms every day. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. I also see how critically important parent and community support is to our students' success. Support your public schools. Get involved. Form a business school partnership or become a school volunteer. Great schools and great communities work hand in hand.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket.
Okay, playing 93.7 The Ticket.
Alexa, turn down the lights.
Dimming the lights.
Alexa, order a pizza. The big one. All the toppings.
Are you sure that's a good idea?
Alexa.
That's a lot of pizza for just one man.
Alexa, just do it. Stop judging me, just do it.
As you wish.
Thanks, Alexa. You're my best friend. Live from the heart of Lincoln, America, welcome to Ticket Weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome in once again to Ticket Weeknights. This is What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington. He'll be joining us shortly on the Allo VIP line. But in the meantime, we'll keep it here solo. And again, he should be joining us any second now. So if you're waiting for him, shouldn't have to wait too much longer. But in the meantime, I'll use my free time to talk about the Chicago Bears because talked about a little bit with the morning personnel, but this is certainly a Cinderella pick. And I don't think I'm being too biased when I say this. You look at what the Bears have done, and Ryan Poles in particular, you go from previous ownership that was, to be honest, pinching their purse quite a bit, not wanting to spend a whole lot of money at all, to now where Poles, what he's been able to do, steal Keenan Allen from the Chargers for a 4th round pick. Incredible. And I know Diggs just got the trade over to the Texans, and he's got, the big numbers But Allen, if he was healthy, he'd be up there, if not higher up there in numbers than Diggs. So to get him for a 4th round, when you compare that to what the Texans had to give away to get Diggs, I can't emphasize how much of a steal that is to get Keenan Allen, arguably one of the best route runners, if not the best route runner. He's certainly the best for me. You look at a guy, he's definitely lost a little bit of speed, but why he's so effective is his route running. It is absolutely lethal and strategic. So again, I can't emphasize that enough. You pair that with a guy like DJ Moore. They got Gerald Everett as well, another good acquisition. Gerald Everett, maybe not eye-popping, but a good blocker. And if the Chicago Bears are going to try to really break that open with, again, another great addition to that offense, DeAndre Swift, I like what they're cooking up in Chicago. It's going to come down to a lot. And my biggest fear is the NFC North is brutal. You look at the Vikings as possibly the only team in the NFC North that could have a weak go at it next season, but you're certainly not expecting it from the Green Bay Packers. That is a young roster, the youngest roster in the NFL, and they figured it out in a hurry. They make postseason play, and the Chicago Bears, led by Justin Fields, still fall short. The Bears even had a chance to kick Green Bay out. They could have got revenge. Still something holding them back, whether you think it was Justin Fields, you think it was Eberflus, you think it was the defense. There's enough pieces now to where I think this season I'm very optimistic. I was out on Eberflus, but something about him keeping him around, and I can't deny that the team certainly had his back towards the end of the season, which was kind of surprising. I thought they would turn on him. But Eberflus kept that locker room together. And yes, they lost that last game to the Green Bay Packers, losing the first one to the Green Bay Packers as well. But that team stayed together, and they made a serious push late season to try to get into postseason play, and they just fell short. So I think this season's going to answer a lot. And as long as Caleb Williams is everything he's supposed to be, there's so many weapons on this offense that there's no reason this can't take off right away like CJ Stroud and the Texans. Now, a little bit of a different environment. DeMeco Ryans a great head coach. And I think that's going to be the difference. Is Eberflus that kind of coach? Is he a guy like DeMeco Ryans that can get a young guy, get him into the playbook, and develop him quickly, really get him sped up? And then when game 1 starts game 2, we're all looking at CJ Stroud like he's been in the NFL for years. That's great coaching. That's getting the quarterback ready, develop, not throwing too much of him at once. Nico Collins, a great addition as well, certainly helped him out. But this is a team that I think they have all the right pieces in play to get this thing rolling. The Bears are running out of excuses. If the Bears can't figure it out this season, I'm going to have a hard time being hopeful ever. If it's Eberflus, Caleb Williams, one of those guys seems like going to be the thing to wreck the whole thing. And Caleb Williams, I wasn't with everyone and saying the best draft prospect in 25 years, but you're getting a lot of people saying that. And I'm plenty willing to be wrong, but the Chicago Bears have the opportunity to land a generational talent in Caleb Williams. He's kind of saying all the right things too in terms of leadership. There's been obviously a lot of hate on the guy. I think a lot of people saw him wearing pink lipstick, although I think the lipstick was photoshopped, if I'm not mistaken. The phone and the nails could have been as well, but Caleb Williams doesn't care. And that's kind of optimistic for me to see a guy that already has the media at his throat and doesn't care. And you can say, why is that a big thing to look at? You can look at these New York Jets quarterbacks and how they've handled the media you want to compare, I don't want to say nasty, but get real really quick. Philadelphia, New York, you're up in those regions. That's tough to deal with. So the Chicago Bears, I'm super optimistic. I think it is going to come down to Eberflus, Caleb Williams, but the wide receiver core, I know you got rid of Mooney, but again, Mooney, if I'm being real here, he's probably the number 3 wide receiver on a lot of teams. And when you get a guy like Keenan Allen in that role, it bodes well. The biggest mistake the Bears made was obviously Chase Claypool last season from the Pittsburgh Steelers. That one didn't do well for them at all. And if being real, the Steelers, they've been doing well making deals with the Chicago Bears. Not only were they able to get rid of Chase Claypool, which they saw problems with, and got rid of him on a really good number considering what his production has been post-trade, but then you look at them getting Justin Fields as well. That is a cheap deal. A 4th round pick for Justin Fields, who was, in a lot of teams still optimistic on his growth Again, that's where it comes down to Chicago Bears. Is it Eberflus, or was it just not enough talent around him? I think, with Justin Fields, it's just the accuracy. I still would be willing to bet that this team with Justin Fields would have a good season, but Caleb Williams, if he's everything he's supposed to be living up to be, this could be a quick start for the Chicago Bears. And again, Harrison Arns joining you guys. And again, we'll have Chancellor Brewington here shortly as I'm checking the phones here. But if you guys want to join in, 402-464-5685. And yes, we will have Brewington here shortly on the Allo VIP line if you guys want to join in. Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, and of course, Allo Channel 961 if you want to put a face to the voice. We do got some text here. Thunder Knot Collins. Looks like we want to talk about a little bit of LSU versus Iowa basketball as we still got some time to kill. And I talked about this with the Mornay Pierce now as we're switching gears here. And if you want to go back to the Chicago Bears, I'm a Bears fan, all for it. Feel free to chime in. But women's basketball with LSU in Iowa, I can't stress enough that they got 16.1 million viewers to watch a women's college basketball game. And I have to put women's college basketball game on there because if we're all being honest, we're being real, that sport has gotten a lot of slack from fans. If you have Instagram or any social media at all, you know what I'm talking about. If there's any sort of women's basketball highlight, those comment sections aren't necessarily kind to those women athletes. But it gets me optimistic to have 16.1 million viewers watching. You just got to be real. Caitlin Clark, Angel Reese, whether you like him or hate him, you tuned in to watch him. At least if you're listening to a sports radio station, I'm assuming you at least watched it, got some social media highlights, and you're aware of who those guys are, what schools they go to, and their NBA prospects. Players like that have that emotion, that have that swagger that people like to complain about, unless you're an LSU fan or an Iowa fan, you're going to complain about the flopping, as Thunder Knot Collins says, generational flop. It's one of those things where who cares? They're bringing in numbers. If you're watching her because you hate her, guess what? You're still putting your eyes on that TV just to see her lose. Whether you're hoping Angel Reese loses, Caitlin Clark loses, or vice versa, you hope one of them wins. What those two have done for the sport has been nothing but spectacular for women's sports. And it's not a position I thought I'd be in where I'm incredibly high on the numbers they've gotten and the traction they've gotten. And it's not just those two. I do think there is a surgence of women's sports, certainly in college basketball, where you're starting to see some really stellar athletes make a wave and get that face, that screen time that was never there before to where we could care enough. One thing that's changed is they're actually putting these athletes on the TV so we can know their story. Outside of all the hundreds of State Farm commercials you saw of Caitlin Clark, ESPN, TNT, CBS, wherever you're going, they're bringing up that game and those players and what it means for women's basketball. Apologies to Thunder Knot Collins. He's talking to Caleb Williams is a generational flop. He called him a generational talent. Doesn't care about Caitlin Clark. Fair enough. Thunder Knot Collins. It'll be interesting to see with Caleb Williams. I hope he's not a generational flop because I can't take too many years of being a Bears fan. I got sucked in 06 that season, tough Super Bowl, Devin Hester all the way back to the house. And if you watch that Super Bowl, you know how the rest of it went. But back to women's college basketball, 16.1 million viewers just to watch that LSU game and Iowa game. Iowa wins it. Caitlin Clark puts up another incredible performance, dropping 41 points. Angel Reese, she didn't quite have the high point total, but rebounding defensively, I still think she was, good in that game. Definitely didn't give her best performance. But this is just a beautiful era of college basketball. To be able to sit here in March Madness and go from men's to women's and be just as excited to watch either of them, it's been awesome. And I can't wait to kind of see this thing grow. The fans supporting it, volleyball too. I mean, if you just talk about women's sports as a whole, it is hitting an all new level. And a lot of it, I'll pat ourselves as Nebraska fans. Volleyball day in Nebraska, no question, moved the needle in volleyball. Basketball, moving the needle. And if, you're Nebraska fans, you know what Nebraska bowling's about as well. And I just hope that this continues to be a thing where you don't got to shove it down our throat. But there's certainly days when I don't need to watch the bottom tier NBA teams duke it out to see who might get the last play-in spot just to lose in round one. Because again, I'm not expecting the Miami Heat story every year. And when some of these games are going on between some of these women's sports, they're just way more entertaining. And that's what this year's proven, if anything, that there's some real studs out there in women's college basketball, women's volleyball, whatever it may be. And they're finally starting to kind of show it. And people do care and they get invested in the stories. You know, it's a good thing for women's college basketball to have this happening. And it's going to be an exciting finish because now everyone's looking at South Carolina, the undefeated South Carolina. Can Caitlin Clark continue that dominant run that she kind of fell short with last year? Is this year different, as both those guys will be out of the league? The only fear I have is that with those two out of the league, is the needle going to drop? You know, Paige out of UConn, another great player as well, but she's not as loud. You know, she's a very humble person, and there's nothing wrong about that. But people that have that swagger, whether you like it or hate it, that's what moves the needle. You know, if you watch pro wrestling, you know what I'm talking about. You got to be outrageous sometimes to get people's eyes on you. Everyone knows WWE's fake. Well, I shouldn't say that. Some people know. But a lot of it is just you're excited to see the storyline. You know, what is the story here? What's happening? What's next? Even if you think it's scripted, not scripted, it's the emotions, the high flare attitudes. That's what makes it entertaining. And that's what they brought this year. And not just those two, but women's college basketball as a whole. And it's going to be interesting to watch. Do any of these teams in the Final Four have a chance to beat South Carolina? An undefeated season. You look at the size and the talent, the athleticism they have on that roster. It seems like a hell of a challenge. But again, we're talking about women's sports. Indiana, you wouldn't think Indiana, out of all the teams in that tournament, would be willing to push South Carolina. You know, that's a matchup where you're looking at the two teams. South Carolina, way bigger, faster, more athletic, and Indiana, undersized, but just great fundamentals and great shooters. And they stressed South Carolina out. So I'm still leaning on them to go ahead and take care of the whole tournament, but it's going to be an exciting finish. And although the Iowa and LSU saga is over as of now, I mean, we know what Mulkey is going to be like. She's always going to be a coach with comments to say, whether you like it or hate it. She's kind of one of those personalities driving the sport as well. But it's going to be a fun finish. With that being said, we'll go ahead. We'll take an early break here. And on the other side, we'll see if we can get Chancellor Brewington, the host of What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington, as always, here with me. So don't go anywhere. We got a couple more segments left here on Ticket Weeknights. Harrison are joining the ones and twos. Don't go anywhere. We'll be back in just a little bit.
Sick of being upsold at gyms?
My guy, you're currently a base member? For $90 more, I can upgrade you to our Shred membership. For $130 more, you'll be a Swole member. And for just $300 more, you'll reach Sweat Platinum.
At Planet Fitness, you'll get energy without the upsell. Never pushy, always free fitness training and equipment for every workout. It's fitness that fits your budget. Join Planet Fitness for just $1 down and $10 a month. Cancel anytime. Deal ends Friday, April 12th. See Home Club for details.
You never think cancer will happen to you. I smoked for over 40 years. My doctor recommended that I get annual lung cancer screening. They were able to catch my cancer at stage 1. It's never too late to quit. Even if you're still smoking, you need to ask your doctor about annual lung cancer screening. Just 30 minutes a year could save your life.
Call the Nebraska Tobacco Quit Line, 1-800-QUIT-NOW, 1-800-784-8669. Paid for by Tobacco Free Nebraska. Aired with the Nebraska Broadcasters Association and this station.
If you can plan barbecues and weddings, you can plan to protect yourself from a natural disaster. Sign up for local alerts, prepare an emergency kit, and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
I'm Chris Jakovic. I served in the United States Air Force, and I deployed 3 times. So in 2017, I was serving as an Air Force First Sergeant. Our motto in that role is, my job is people, everyone is my business. But unfortunately, in that year, I would lose my own brother, Lance Corporal Adam Jakovic, to suicide. The majority of veteran suicides are from guns. I store my weapons securely, not only for myself, but for my family. Store all your guns securely. Help stop suicide. My service never stops.
Brought to you by End Family Fire and the Ad Council.
Be a memory for your grandchildren. Among Nebraska adults age 65 or older, 47% report current alcohol use. Drinking too much can cause harm to children, family members, and loved ones. By drinking less, you will still be around for your grandchildren. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
you're spending $300 a month. Binge drinking is the most common form of excessive drinking, which costs the United States more than $191 billion each year. By drinking less, you will save $300 a month. If you or a loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
1 in 3 adults has prediabetes. 1 in 3. That means it could be you, your football buddy, your football buddy, or you, your best man, your worst man, you, your dog walker, your cat jogger. While 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes, with early diagnosis, prediabetes can be reversed. Take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org. That's doihaveprediabetes.org.
Wait, did they just say 1 in 3 adults has prediabetes? That's 33.33333% of adults. That means it could be me, my boss, or my boss's boss, or me, my favorite sister, or my other sister. That's 7 members of my 21-person romantic book club. Wait, the 1 in 3 could be me, my karaoke partner Carol, or my karaoke enemy Jeff. I'm going to take the risk test at doihaveprediabetes.org.
Brought to you by the Ad Council and its Prediabetes Awareness Partners.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
I'd like to have my fun maybe more like on like a Tuesday, like in February or something. Let's see if I can pull a prank on somebody. Yeah, but not on
it's
prank
like it's
day.
total amateur hour.
Yeah, it's just like National Prank Day. Yeah.
Yeah, I do got a little announcement to make.
What's that? Oh, wait, breaking news?
I won't be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday.
Whoa! What? Can you, this
April Fools.
Oh! He got it. That's actually well done. It's so good.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
When you're high, you feel different. You think different, you talk different, you draw different, you listen to music different, but you probably knew that. Problem is, you also drive different, and not in a good way. That's why driving high is illegal everywhere. So if you're high, just don't drive. Make a plan to get a sober ride. Because if you feel different, you drive different. Brought to you by NHTSA and the Ad Council.
When it comes to making plans, you are the best. What about those round trips, which are perfect on your way there and perfect on your way back? Or those meetings with friends, surprise parties, camps, birthdays. The same way you plan for the important moments, start planning to protect you and your loved ones from a natural disaster. Sign up for local weather and emergency alerts. Prepare an emergency kit and make a family communications plan. Get started at ready.gov/plan.
Brought to you by FEMA and the Ad Council.
Attention all Wings fans. 89-cent wings are back on Tuesdays at Buffalo Wings and Rings in Lincoln. Enjoy the best wings in town for boneless or traditional at a price that makes the whole family happy. And now at the Williamsburg Village Wings and Rings, you can enjoy $1.50 tall boys in Bud Light, Coors Light, Busch Light, and Michelob Ultra every day after 7 p.m. and all day on Sundays. Get to Wings and Rings today and make sure to stop by on Tuesdays for 89-cent wings.
Hi, folks. Sean Callahan here for Koppel Chevrolet GMC, and the Chevrolet and GMC Truck Month is now underway. We've got huge savings in Louisville. Get $9,000 off or 1.9% for 72 months on select models. Yes, you heard right. That's $9,000 off or 1.9% for 72 months happening right now at Koppel. So take that short money saving drive down 144th Street or check us out online at koppelcars.com. You'll be glad you did. All deals with roof credit. Stock number G214773.
Hi, this is Pastor Tom. Did you know there's a place kids can seek out help when they're away from home and something goes wrong? They find themselves in a difficult spot or even a dangerous situation. Maybe another child is bullying them or a stranger is following them. Perhaps on a date and things just go bad. In Lincoln, here's where they can find help. It's called Safe Place. Safe Place is a national program for children taking place in thousands of cities across the United States. The People Seeding Mission is sponsoring this program in our community and has set up a number of businesses, fire stations, schools, and nonprofits around the city to become safe locations where kids can seek out help. They just need to look for the big yellow sign that says Safe Place on it. Then go inside and ask for help. We will be quickly connected to them and ensure they make it back home or to whatever resources are needed. If you'd like to find out more about Safe Place, and ways in which you can get involved, just go to pcmlincoln.org. Remember, we all do a little, we change a lot.
I see the future in our public school classrooms every day. I'm Jenny Benson, president of the Nebraska State Education Association. I also see how critically important parent and community support is to our students' success. Support your public schools. Get involved. Form a business school partnership or become a school volunteer. Great schools and great communities work hand in hand.
Sponsored by the Nebraska State Education Association, aired by the Nebraska Broadcasters Association in this station.
Back to the Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back in to Ticket Weeknights. Once again, Harrison Arns on the ones and twos. We still have no chance of Brewington, but that's all right. I will carry you through until we can get him on. Busy man, as you can imagine, out there with family and community, so you can't be upset about someone doing that. So again, he'll be joining us here, hopefully here in this segment. If not, we'll try to wrap up with him. But in the meantime, you guys can always join in on the show, 402-464-5685. You want to put a face to the voice, Facebook, YouTube, Twitch, Twitter, Allo Channel 961, always available out there for you guys. YouTube, always great. You can rewind in case you missed any of it. But on this segment, as we got some more time to kill, I'm curious, when it comes to things like stadium renovations, whether it be PBA, Haymarket Field, Memorial Stadium, the Kansas City Chiefs, Arrowhead Stadium, and obviously the idea of trying to open up a new Kansas City Royals baseball stadium, that got shut down in a hurry. And if there was a tax out there that was imposed, a small percentage tax to you guys out there, we know about these renovations, Southside Memorial Stadium forever now. Is that something where you guys, just your everyday worker, you're, 9 to 5, and if you're lucky enough, maybe you're not 9 to 5, maybe you're retired, and you retired pretty well and you got money to spend, would you guys want a tax to get that thing pushed through, to make sure that the university, the donors, everybody involved on top doesn't have to put their money in, all of their money into it, and have a tax where we pay for something? Obviously, with a college university like that, it's not going to be the same, but it does raise the question that it bothers me that this was even a debate for the Kansas City Royals and the Chiefs. The Royals, I can understand it a little bit more, because that's a franchise where maybe they could use in renovation to make it more of a landing destination. But when it comes to the Kansas City Chiefs Arrowhead renovations, you guys just won the Super Bowl. You can't tell me you need money from the everyday man in taxes to help pay and support for the renovations in Arrowhead Stadium. It's one of my biggest beefs. Maybe I'm not rich enough to understand it. If you guys are more numbers guys, accountants, whatever it may be in the banking world, and you want to tell me I'm wrong, 402-464-5685. But it always kind of drives me nuts when you have these billionaires that own these pro teams that only seem to go up in value, not have the money to do the renovations themselves, to ask, like you said, your everyday man, why don't you just put that in the taxes? And I get it. The city, you get a nice new stadium. It's going to draw in more traffic. The real idea is, yes, you pay taxes on it, but the return on it is a better city. It brings more money into the city, more money for the sports teams, means better infrastructure we can spend on roads, clean up nasty areas of town, whatever it may be. I get it. The long-term reward is that the city has more money to kind of help some of those infrastructure things. It's not just so we can have a cool sports team in town, but it always does bother me when you do have people up top with significant amounts of money, because if you own a pro team, let's just be real, you're not sitting on a small sum of money. You're not sitting on $1 million. You're probably even getting up there towards $1 billion if you own a pro team, especially an NFL pro team. Is that something anybody would actually want to have a tax for, to pay for? I wouldn't. I bleed Husker red. I love the Cornhuskers, basketball, volleyball, swimming, whatever it may be. I'm always going to support those guys. But it always feels like one of those things where, why am I going to pay for this when you guys are benefiting the most? You guys get richer. Why should I have to pay the tax for all this money coming in to this fancy new stadium that, yes, certainly it'll bring more money to the city, but it'll bring a lot more money to the owners in their pockets. So not surprising. If you guys want to know the real numbers for this it got shot down pretty quick. The sales tax had been passed, would have been used to help pay for some of the major renovations, Arrowhead Stadium and the new Kansas City Royals, like I said. But the two teams are going to have to look elsewhere, as it was not even close. You can say it's close, but really when you're voting, not a close spread at all. 58% said absolutely not. 41% said yes. So that equates to about 56,000 people who said no, and 78,000 people had said no, and 56,000 people said yes. I'm a little surprised by it because Andy Reid did back it up, so I thought maybe that'll garner some support. But shout out to Missouri, because I don't ever support that. I don't think it should come down to the everyday man to go ahead and build the fancy new stadiums when the owners have more money than anybody out there that you're trying to tax to build your new stadiums. And some more NFL news while we're kind of bouncing around here. We haven't talked about it yet. Stephon Diggs, we talked a little bit on the Don't Punt Hour. What does this mean for the Texans? Stephon Diggs, he got traded out of the Buffalo Bills. Whether it was a requested trade or not has not been out there. They denied to comment on it, which indicates to me it was definitely a requested trade, and you're just trying not to garner that bad media, which fair enough. But it certainly seemed like one of those that caught the Buffalo Bills off guard. Maybe they had, a couple weeks of notice that this is where this thing was heading, but I don't think they were trying to move on to Diggs for as little as they got. The Texans, they gave away a fair amount, but the Bills aren't looking for draft picks right now and some money compensation. They're also not looking, for $30 million plus in dead cap space. And Diggs is a big part of that dead cap space now. So you get some return in picks, but it does worry me a little bit about Josh Allen. We're going to really figure out who Josh Allen is and what this Buffalo Bills coaching staff can do. When it came to the Kansas City Chiefs, especially at the beginning of the year, if you're like me, you probably made an assumption too fast that, man, this isn't going to be the year for the Kansas City Chiefs. Their wide receivers, they're not bad, but there's no real superstars out there either. You're getting a lot of dropped balls. Guys aren't comfortable. That chemistry really only seemed to exist between Kelsey and Mahomes. Everybody else out there, you're kind of just hoping for one big player, a few big plays to move the sticks. Mahomes, Kelsey take care of the West, along with Pacheco, who really had a great season this year. And I was wrong. Mahomes proved that he is an elite quarterback, and Andy Reid proved he's a great coach and knows how to hire great coaches alongside with him. Spangoli in that defense, they deserve a lot of credit. That defense, what they did to Baltimore got embarrassed. They had some chances, but at the end there, you could argue it was the sudden blows. I mean, you think about Flowers with that unnecessary, unsportsmanlike conduct that took some points off the board. A few big plays where you got to be smarter. Flowers being part of a couple of those. Also a fumble near the end zone. You could debate that it was just more of a ego hit than it was the defense of the Kansas City Chiefs. But you got to give them credit. They found a way to lean on their defense more than they ever have before. And Mahomes still just good enough to keep the chains moving and score in really big moments. And I always point to that Baltimore game because it says a lot about Mahomes, Kelsey, Andy Reid, and the offensive coordinator all in one. To have Kelsey be that open that many times and don't seem to have any problems scheming up ways to get him open when you're in the red zone of all places, or at least getting close to the red zone. They know what they're doing up there, and it's going to prove a lot to me. What can this Buffalo Bills team do? They did luckily kind of patch up that run game towards the end of the season last year after moving on from their OC. They're going to have to lean on that, I think, unless Josh Allen, can really prove that he can do some of the things that Mahomes proved to do. I can do more with even less. And he's going to have to make that step because right now, Gabe Davis also out of there. That's another hole. I understand he's not your superstar, but certainly a good wide receiver. And with the loss of Diggs, you would have loved to keep him around, but now he's down there in Jacksonville. He's going to have to, unless they make a splash trade here or somehow get some money in the draft, that's definitely a possibility for them as well. But they're going to have to nail that draft pick because right now that wide receiver core is certainly depleted. And Josh Allen, it's going to be on him. It's going to be on him, on that coaching staff, how they can get creative, because I'm assuming that defense is still going to be good. So the offense is going to have to do just enough to take care of this thing. We do got a text here. Interesting. Talking about the taxes as we rewind, where I was talking about the tax for the Kansas City Royals new stadium and possible renovate. Well, not possible. It would have been renovations for Arrowhead Stadium as well. And it got voted majority. No, we don't want to pay taxes on that. Unknown Texter says there was a tax on cigarettes for the Devaney Center that is still in place today. I also think the hotel and restaurant tax for PBAs is still in place. Once they put a tax, they never get rid of it, even when they're supposed to. I'm going to have to do some research. That's a great text, 8985. That is interesting. If there was still a tax on cigarettes for the Devaney Center that is still in place today, that's incredible. And if you guys have information on it before I get to break and have time to look it up for myself, 402-464-5685, because that's absolutely incredible. And you do look at, it would have been 40 years, would have been the tax, right? You're going to pay that thing for 40 years. That's a long time to be taxing people. And if that team, seems to start struggling and you're still paying that tax money on a team because 40 years is a long time. Mahomes isn't going to be playing still in 40 years. Andy Reid. So to pay all that and to assume the success, again, maybe it brings in more money. But I'm just kind of impressed that despite winning the Super Bowl, riding the high, enough people have still said no. And I do think a big part of it, if it was maybe just for Arrowhead Stadium renovations, I do think that would have had a better chance. But I still think just based on that resounding no that they got off the bat between both of those, it is interesting to kind of see that people shut that down because it happens a lot. You see it. I mean, we see it everywhere that new teams are opening up in LA. It feels like every other year you're going to find a new pro team, startup, trying to figure something out, whether it's a, minor football league. Those taxes drive me incredible. So I agree with the texter here. Once they put that tax on, they never get rid of it, even when they're supposed to. The rich get richer. I mean, what can we say? Those loopholes certainly exist. And, as I was talking about my Chicago Bears, either an even crazier kind of sort of events. This is a little bit different, but these stadiums are just bizarre at times and how they get paid for and who is the one to profit on them. Soldier Field for the Chicago Bears became a historical landmark for the city of Chicago. And as a result, a lot of the money wasn't actually going to the Chicago Bears because they had this deal with the city of Chicago. It became a real issue and they were locked into, I can't remember the number off the top of my head, but it was a crazy long time that these guys had to put up with not actually owning their own stadium and it being a historical landmark. Now, they did agree to do that because there was some benefits to it, but they certainly got burnt in the long run as they kind of realized what they signed on to, how long it was going to be, and how much of their money wasn't going to fall in their pockets. It was going back to the city of Chicago. So when it comes to arenas being built, how they structure these things, where they expect the money to come from. And again, I always laugh. You got billionaires, millionaires in those boardrooms up top thinking, what should we tax this person who makes anywhere between 30K or not even that? Some people 20 to 100K a year, and you're going to figure out a way to tax those people so they can pay for the new stadium when you're sitting on all the money. We're going to have to take a dive into that. So great text right there. I'm going to find out if that cigarette tax for the Devaney Center that is still in place today. So we'll throw it to break. And if we're lucky enough, Chancellor Brewington can be on the other side. And I'll ask him that question as well on kind of what he thinks about the whole thing. And maybe if we have time, we can dive into the horrible MLB jerseys. I saw what Nike did to the NBA, and I'm not surprised to see the MLB jerseys are going through the same process. I've been on this thing forever because I'm obviously a big basketball fan, NBA. And when Nike took over, I couldn't stand those jerseys because they looked cheap. Their argument, they're softer, lighter, more comfortable for the players. Okay, maybe in basketball that works. And even then, they still look cheaper. I don't care what you say. Those jerseys, they look cheap. I'm not a fan of all the switching up of the colorways. The MLB, they're on that right there. They're back to those easy tear jerseys, lightweight. If you're wearing white, I mean, it's even see-through at times. So if we have time, we'll dive into that as well. But we'll throw it to break here. And again, if you guys want to join, 402-464-5685. You guys have been great so far. Disagree with me, you're not going to make me cry. Feel free to chime in as well. We'll throw it to break. And like I said, hopefully we'll have Brewington on the other side with me. So don't go anywhere. This is What's Brewing with Harrison Arns at the moment. And we'll talk to you in a little bit.
Banking should feel personal, not intimidating. At Western National Bank, we're about real connections. Founded by two ordinary guys with an extraordinary vision to know each and every customer personally. Fees, they suck. Avoid all fees with Western National Bank's Compass checking account. No monthly fees, no minimum balances, and get this, 5.12 APY on the first $1,000. Open your Compass checking account online in 5 minutes or less at mywnb.com. Experience the difference with Western National Bank. Visit mywnb.com. Member FDIC.
Hey, Husker Nation, Matt Davison here with 1890. It's an exciting time to be a Husker fan, and to keep that momentum going, we need your help. Nebraska has always been a leader in college athletics, and we're doing the same through name, image, and likeness. NIL is a unique opportunity for every Husker fan to have a direct impact on the success of our programs. Through 1890, 100% of your contribution goes to the student athletes. So go to 1890nebraska.com, choose your sport, become a member, and help the Huskers recruit and retain the best. Go Big Red.
Spring sports are here and it's time to upgrade your equipment. But don't go rushing to your big box store. Play It Again Sports is your place to go for all spring sports equipment for baseball, softball, golf, and disc golf. Play It Again Sports has quality, slightly to gently used equipment, and 50% of their inventory is actually new equipment. And don't forget, buying from them is a great way to get new products with great discounts by also bringing in your used items for store credit or cash on the spot. Play It Again Sports at 48th and Vine.
93.7 The Ticket, Fox, KFXL weather. Brought to you by Bryant Air Conditioning, Heating, Electrical, and Plumbing.
Your Lincoln forecast for today, we'll see lots of sunshine, but it will be breezy again. We'll see an afternoon high around 54. Tonight, clear skies with a continued breeze, and overnight low around 30. And tomorrow, we'll see more sunshine with west wind and slightly warmer temperatures, afternoon high around 58. I'm meteorologist Kyle Tucker from 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
Jake Sorensen here for The Body Shop. My wife is nearing her due date with our first child and has been in need of a good massage as her body continues to change and adapt. Dennis and the team at The Body Shop were incredible with the prenatal massage that she's still talking about today. I was also able to get a deep tissue massage, so it was a great bonding experience and a unique couples massage in general. If you're in need of stress relief, book a massage today at thebodyshoplincoln.com. The Body Shop at 48th and A.
Sandhills Global is hiring. With their fast-paced, growing culture, they have hundreds of new openings in sales, marketing, traveling support, software development, web design, and more. Full-time roles offer a 4.5-day work week, along with flexible internships in most areas. Career and internship opportunities are available at our global headquarters in Lincoln, Nebraska. Find your fit today at www.sandhills.jobs.
Early break with Sip and Jake.
I'd like to have my fun maybe more like on like a Tuesday, like in February or something. Let's see if I can pull a prank on somebody. But not on
it's
prank
like it's
day.
total amateur hour.
Yeah, it's just like National Prank Day. Yeah.
Yeah, I do got a little announcement to make.
What's that? Oh, wait, breaking news?
I won't be here Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, or Monday.
Whoa! What, Kitty? This just
April Fools.
Oh! He got it. He got that's actually well done. It's so good.
Early break with Sip and Jake from 6 to 8 every weekday morning on 93.7 The Ticket.
93.7 The Ticket is proud to provide listeners with daily opportunities to win contests and prizes on our airwaves, and would like to take this opportunity to remind you of a couple rules. All participants must be 21 or older and must wait 30 days after winning a prize before participating in another contest. Once you win, you have 30 days to pick up your prize at the K&TK Studios, 1040 O Street in Lincoln, or your prize will be forfeit. Thank you for participating in our contest, and thank you for listening to 93.7 The Ticket.
Hi, Sean Callahan here of HuskerOnline.com, inviting you to join us here on 93.7 The Ticket every Saturday morning. Now in our new time, we're on from 8 to 9 with the weekly Husker Online radio show. We'll give you the latest in recruiting. We'll talk about what's going on with both football, basketball, and we'll probably share a few stories from the inside. It's every Saturday morning right here on 93.7 The Ticket. It's the Husker Online radio show from 8 to 9 a.m.
Drinking and driving causes serious harm to friends, family members, and loved ones. In 2021, 65 people were killed in Nebraska by a car crash involving a drunk driver. Do not drink and drive. By drinking less, you can still be here for your loved ones. If you or loved one is looking for help, find a treatment facility near you at findtreatment.gov. For immediate support, call, text, or chat 988.
Brought to you by Nebraska DHHS in partnership with SAMHSA.
Mario fue pintor más de 30 años. Cuando me dijo que se le estaban olvidando las cosas, fue difícil. Un día me dijeron que pintara el marco del lado por dentro y pinté el lado de afuera.
Yo le diría a la gente que le diga a su familia lo que está pasando con él.
Si algo se nota diferente, podría ser Alzheimer. Es momento de hablarlo. Visita alz.org/nuestras historias para saber más. Un mensaje de The Alzheimer's Association y The Ad Council.
Finally, a good reason to have a smart house. Just say, Alexa, play 93.7 The Ticket, and we'll magically start playing. How's it work? Nobody knows. Don't ask questions. Back to The Ticket weeknights on 93.7 The Ticket and theticketfm.com.
All right, welcome back into Ticket Weeknights. This is What's Brewing with Harrison Arns. We're going to keep it that way as we wrap up the show. So apologies, no Chancellor Brewington today. But just so you guys don't give him any hate, he's out there with community. So anytime a person's out there with community, friends and family, you can't necessarily be upset for a person helping out and just being a good person. So shout out to Chancellor Brewington. We will join with him back next week. And again, What's Brewing with Chancellor Brewington, that goes on about 9 o'clock throughout the weeknights. We'll tweet it out. But his show is fantastic. You can imagine the former Husker likes talking X's and O's. So if you haven't caught any of those shows, highly recommend it. But I did do a little bit of research as we had Unknown Texter kind of chime in on that cigarette tax that paid for the Bob Devaney building. Could not find anywhere. If I had a little bit more time, I could figure out if it actually ended or not. I haven't figured out where that tax has actually come to a close, whether even a timeline for it, or if this was just always going to be an indefinite thing. But 1992, Devaney, obviously Bob Devaney, pushed for a new multi-sports facility to replace Nebraska's Coliseum in 1971. After much consultation, state lawmakers approved a 5-cent increase to the state cigarette tax to fund the construction. So whether that tax still exists or not, I couldn't find how long that tax was supposed to exist. Couldn't find either. So it might still be out there. If you're buying cigarettes, you might still be chiming in 5 cents to Nebraska athletics. So if you think you're not donating to NIL and you're out there smoking, chance you still might actually be. So interesting there. If you guys actually know if that's still a thing and you have some concrete knowledge of it, fill me in 402-464-5685, because a lot of the show we talked about the new stadiums, the pro stadiums, and how, again, I think it's outrageous. You can disagree with me. Anytime they want the citizens of that city, of that region, to pay for the billionaires' new pro team stadium, I hate that stuff. You guys are the ones sitting on all the money. Yes, we might get a long run, better infrastructure of the city, but let's be honest, that's only if the team's good. And that's a gamble at times. You know, if Jacksonville Jaguars got a fancy new stadium, there's no guarantee that that team's going to be great and be filling up the seats. You still got to have a good product out there on the field, and that's never guaranteed in sports. So to propose these taxes on a product that has there's no certainty in saying, yes, this team, new stadium, it will certainly fill up the seats and it will bring a lot more money to the city. There is never a guarantee when it comes to sports in winning. So that's why I'm always against it. But it is interesting. And that cigarette tax for the Bob Devaney, that 5 cent, could still possibly be a thing. But as we wrap things up here, again, no chance of Brewington, but no worries, he'll be back with us next week. I do want to talk a little bit about the NBA. As a lot of you guys, if you've listened to me before, you know I like talking hoops, whether college basketball or NBA. And you know what? We can even talk MLB jerseys. We've got a little more time because I had a little bit of a rant at the end there. I just can't stand how Nike, it's funny, maybe I'm just against people with a lot of money today, because Nike's jerseys in the MLB are ridiculous, and I don't like the NBA jerseys for the exact same reasons. They look cheap, they rip easy, they're not great. The colorways, especially in the NBA, drive me crazy. But speaking of the NBA, talked about this with the Morning Personnel a little bit. The Los Angeles Clippers are a dark horse for me. If there's any team in the Western Conference that is going to take down the Denver Nuggets, I think it has to be the Clippers, just because Zubac isn't necessarily going to stop Jokic, but you got enough wing defenders out there to where if Jokic just kind of want to play that game, you have Kawhi Leonard, Paul George, some really elite, and for being honest, some of the most elite wing defenders in the league. that can certainly help out. And then it's really just that matchup between Zubac and Jokic. And can Zubac, with help, obviously, from some of the best wing defenders in the league, slow him down enough? Because when you're going through NBA playoffs, the most important thing to look at is matchups. These guys are good. They're pros. They're well coached. They've played the game well enough to identify those matchups and get enough screens, find a set in a hurry to take advantage of it. And when you look at the Nuggets, the Timberwolves at 2, although the Timberwolves have been great basketball all season, sitting there 52-23, the Nuggets 53-23. They're only half a game behind. The problem I have with the Timberwolves is not that Rudy Gobert is a bad player, but Rudy Gobert is a bad matchup for Nikola Jokic. The last thing Gobert wants to face is a 5 that can pull it out, and not just pull it out and shoot threes, a stretch 5. He's guarded guys, that can do that before. The real problem is Jokic can bring the ball up the court, and if you're Rudy Gobert, you're not going to let one of your guards pick him up. He's way too big. He can shoot over any of them. You're going to have to get out there and get rid of the best part of your game, which is your ability to protect the rim. Rudy Gobert, for all the things he isn't on offense, he's all of it on defense. I mean, he's an incredible defender. The net rating showed when that guy steps off the court for the Minnesota Timberwolves, they don't stand a chance. Defensively, they take some serious numbers. Now, they fixed it a little bit. They found some ways to kind of mitigate the bleeding when he steps off. But when Rudy Gobert is off that court defensively, that team really struggles. And although he can be on the court, that's why that matchup matters. Because, yes, he'll still be on the court when Jokic is out there, but because the way Jokic plays, that completely nullifies what Rudy Gobert does best. So, although it's an impressive season for the Timberwolves, I think it's just tough luck having to have the Nuggets on your side of it. The Denver Nuggets have been dominant all year long. Nikola Jokic, front runner for the MVP. If I'm being honest, Luka, he might have more of a deserving to take that. I mean, he's been on an absolute tear. I know they lost to the Warriors yesterday, and they're sitting there at 5 at 45-30, but that's still a winning team. And if you look at Luka's numbers, they are nothing short of incredible. I mean, he's putting up 40-point games, what feels like every other night. And last night, I know, again, as it was lost to the Warriors, it was a calm triple-double. It was like, I think it was 31 points, 12 rebounds, 12 assists. It was a solid triple-double, not a 10, 11, 12. No, he dominated that entire game, and he's been doing it all year long. So, and it kind of swayed away there on that MVP talk. But the Dallas Mavericks at 5, 45-30. Going through the Nuggets, Timberwolves, hate the matchup for them. And as I'm going through this, I'm assuming you guys can recognize I got the Denver Nuggets winning it all, certainly in the West. And it's a game to do. Look at these matchups. Timberwolves, don't like it at all for them. The Thunder, interesting team. This is one where not so much matchups. They're a little bit smaller, good playmaking. SGA's had a great season, but I do like Jamal Murray. Not that he's the best defender out there in the world, but he's quick enough to at least try to stay in front of him. And he might have a chance to shake things up. As weird as it is, maybe a smaller team lineup that likes to play a little bit faster behind a guy like SGA is the thing that can shake them up, but I'm not counting on it. Again, it's that Clippers team. The Mavericks, I would like to say it's in the wheelhouse for them this year, but I just don't think they have that matchup you need for Jokic. I mean, we saw it last year. Anthony Davis, arguably, second, third, fourth, fifth, whatever you want to put him, top 5 center, anything more less than that, that's outrageous. He was playing some of his best ball in those playoffs offensively, and it still wasn't enough. As good as that guy is defensively, he was running out of answers for Nikola Jokic. And you can call it garbage shots, but when Nikola Jokic is able to make those one-footed step back, what looks like a catapult shot 3, that's tough to stop. And AD, a guy with that size who contested it really well, still wasn't enough. So that's why when I was talking about the Timberwolves earlier, maybe I was a little harsh on Rudy Gobert, but I just don't see that guy having a chance on being able to stop what I think is, if not the MVP, the second MVP. You can switch Luka and Jokic, the two foreigners, as that's the way the league's been going lately. Interchangeable there. But we're going to wrap it up here, but don't go anywhere. We got the Malone radio show up next. It's been a great show. They switched from ticket weeknights. They're here on Wednesday nights now. So if you haven't been paying attention, now's a good time to start. Don't go anywhere. We'll keep it rolling here on Ticket Weeknights.